So we are here today with Dobruja, and she is a naturopath who specialises in tick-borne diseases and complex things like I do. She's based in New South Wales, which is one of our tick hotspots. So we wanted to talk a little bit today about her background, how she got into this place, and also what her recommendations are for removing ticks when you have bites, because she is in a part of Australia that is crawling with ticks. Her patients are coming with ticks. Her friends and family are covered in ticks. It is quite a problem at the moment. So she's got a lot more real world experience than I do, because I'm a big fan of the tweezer method for removing ticks. But I would love to hear your experience.
Yeah, so you're right, as you said. Maybe people are not covered in ticks, thank God. But I see lots of tick bites pretty much on daily basis. So the solution, the practical solution that I recommended don't really work on real life. Because what actually happened is what we need to take into consideration when it comes to tick bites. It's not just the infections, but also anaphylaxis and allergies, which are with the ticks that are here, the Paralisisted, the Ixodus species. They are really, really strong and prevalent, and they're life-threatening. So when we're removing tick, we need to take anaphylaxis, allergies, and infections into consideration. Now, there has been a study done in Mona Valley Hospital. And that study shows that when pig is dead and then it's removed, it doesn't cause this anaphylaxis or allergy reaction. So basically, I'll tell you a little bit about this study. It was studied on I think 2021 or something like that, on 120 patients, and 60 of those patients, they have killed ticks on the spot on their body and then removed it. And only 5% of those patients got the anaphylaxis or allergy reaction. Whereas the other 60 or so patients, they have removed tick first and then obviously killed it. And 86% of those patients had anaphylaxis reaction. So it's quite powerful data, and based on that data, I think we should kill the tick first while it's on the body, and then try to remove it to avoid the anaphylaxis. And it's not just anaphylaxis. I forgot to tell about the alpha-gal allergy, which is really nasty as well, because it's I have lots of patients with the allergy. It's not just meat allergy, but it's all systemic, especially digestive system inflammation reaction to a number of foods, and it's really hard to treat. It fades itself. It fades by its own, given there is no more tick bites, but people are prone to food intolerances and allergies through all their life. So we need to take all of this into consideration. Now, another problem with tweezers is, I've had tick so many times, and now when I have tick, and other people have tick as well, it's a sense of panic. It's like sense of anxiety, panic, sweat, and to be very precise with this little device and get the tick by its head, it just doesn't happen. You get the shaky hands. You sometimes not just even shaky hands, but the tweezer will slip and you will grab wrong part, and then everything goes into your body. So that's another aspect. Then sometimes you have a tiniest ticks. They are so tiny that you pretty much need like a magnifying glass. And it's still hard to tell if it's tick or if it's some sort of dirt. It's hard not to scratch it. But with those ticks, there's no chance the normal tweezer will even grab the proper part. You just can't see. Now, another scenario is they usually decide to bite you in the weirdest spots.
Mm-hmm.
So they will hide. They will be somewhere in your hair where you can't see where. If you don't have
Mm-hmm.
another person, it's really hard. It's just impossible to do
Mm-hmm.
it with the tweezer. Or, somewhere at the back. But also I had some of my friends or patients, they will have tick inside the ear, inside
Mm-hmm.
the ear canal.
Yeah.
That's nasty. Or on the eyelids.
Mm-hmm.
They will
And is
just
the
go.
tick freezing spray precise enough that you can use it on things like eyelids or ears, or
No, you can't, because
yeah,
the whole solution in the tick spray, it's damaging the skin,
yeah,
and that's why people don't like it too much. But obviously you can't use it on your eyes,
mm,
and you can't use it in the ears because it's dangerous.
mm,
So I think we really need to go case by case where the
mm,
tick is. Freeze solution, it's number one recommend, like would be my number one solution recommendation. And then let the tick fall off by itself.
mm-hmm.
Or if you're feeling nervous, then let someone else to just precisely with magnifying glass grab what needs to be grabbed. Um,
Mm,
we definitely need more education and even
yeah,
a practice. Those people in endemic areas like mine,
mm,
they need they need schooling on how to act and what to do.
yeah, I agree. That was something that Pete and I were talking about when we were reviewing the Senate findings the other week. It's all of this starts with education for people, for children, for vets, for doctors, for chiropractors, everybody who is a human or deals with other creatures that can co-infect humans or live with humans needs to understand how to remove ticks, what tick diseases look like. And both of us, Pete and I, would have loved to see more research into what is safe and effective for stopping disease transmission in these ticks. And some of the reason we don't get that study in Australia is because we don't believe these diseases transmit. And my clinical experience, because I see patients all over Australia, is that exactly where you are, so sort of Wollongong South in New South Wales, you guys are the place where I see the anaphylaxis and the alpha-gal, Sydney as well. Um, the other places in Australia, they're not suffering at the moment with that allergic reaction after tick bites. And we're not seeing that alpha-gal. I'm not seeing it in patients in other places at the moment. Obviously, ticks migrate, disease spreads. It's coming out from your little hotspot. But yeah, very, very interesting that allergic response is something you're seeing a lot in your clinic.
Yeah, and local people will tell you that this is on the rise. It never
Yeah,
used to be. The
yeah.
amount of ticks in here, it's definitely on the rise. They say there used to be, say in spring only, there will be more active during springtime, and now all year round people are getting nasty tick bites, and the anaphylactic reaction. It's just coming out of blue, and
Mm,
someone might have few tick bites and nothing will happen, and that fifth tick bite, say, will just completely knocks them off. And what I also believe is happening with this anaphylactic reaction, it's such a shock to the system. All this neurotoxins and proteins to suppress immune system. That's where the people are in higher risk of developing infection itself, because those all proteins in tick saliva, they suppress immune system.
yes.
They cause not only the allergy reaction, histamine reaction, but they just dampen the immune responses, and that's where people are losing the fight against the pathogens.
And so that's when you're talking about some of the long chronic tick-borne diseases developing in people, or
Um,
just the allergic response and that alpha-gal type
it's
experience.
like, say for example, I had recently few cases where strong young males, they were fine. Few of them actually last month, they were fine. They had lots of tick bites and no reaction whatsoever. Maybe like a slight knockout, but then there will be so no reaction in terms of no anaphylaxis or no infection, no sore joints, no symptoms whatsoever, and they will have then suddenly anaphylactic reaction after, say, having 5 or 10 tick bites, and then they will develop infection as
Mm-hmm.
well. So they somehow correlate.
Mm-hmm.
From what I read, I understand this whole anaphylaxis predisposes to infection, to developing infection.
Yeah, any chaotic, disorganized immune response allows pathogen to move into the body in numbers and places that it should not. And the immune response, it doesn't act appropriately to shut that down and ship that out.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
What also bothers me quite a lot is the recommendation for scabies cream, Lycra.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So lots of people use it instead of killing tick with the tick off. And I done myself a little experiment. I had lots of live ticks given to me for research purposes, and I dipped those ticks in Lycra and watched them. They actually become more aggravated and more alive after being dipped in this solution. And I know it's a neurotoxin, they die off.
Oh yeah, that's not a good idea. Gonna dump all of their stomach contents back. Yeah, okay. So that's a pyrethrin based, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is. It's a neurotoxin that slowly kills the tick. But I watched them reacting. I have actually a cool video which I'm going to share on my social media, where tick was almost like dying because I had them in the jar and they were pretty much lifeless, and I took them and dipped them in the scabies cream, and they just become so alive, so agitated. So this recommendation, lots of people use the scabies cream for a tiny nymph.
Yeah, for the nymph ticks.
And we're lacking data on what happens during this die of time. I think the ticks are getting so annoyed that they will just regurgitate everything.
Yes, I agree. And that's why I think in a mature tick in a decent area, just getting the head and pulling, like just gently applying the counter pressure until it pops off, then it's not regurgitating. But if you've got decent data on the freeze spray being effective, and I've never seen that, so I would love to be able to link that to this video as well if you can find it, or I can find it. I just, because my concern with the freeze spray without reading that data is that if they're not permanent, if they're not actually frozen, if they're just irritated, all they're going to do is dump more of their little toxins out of their gross little mouths, and people are going to be in more suffering.
No, they absolutely dead. They dead within a split of seconds. The moment the spray hits them, it's about, I'm not sure of exact number, but it will be about minus 20.
Okay.
Spray solution.
Okay.
It damages your skin, so that's the consequences. That's like a side effect. You will end up having a mark of damaged skin for about 6 weeks or so.
Okay.
But look, out of all the bad things, I think that's pretty good.
Pick your problems, definitely, and that doesn't seem like a bad problem to have compared to a lifetime allergy or meat allergy or some sort of long borreliosis or Bartonella or Babesia type infection. And interesting, you're not seeing a lot of it's mostly mature ticks, whereas in WA we get in the nesting season, people will be covered in millions of little ones, and I'm not thousands, millions, like being in a dust storm of nymphs. And so those little tiny ones are, I think people say, oh, I didn't get bitten. I think, how would you know? Its little mouth. I wouldn't have felt it. But you're not seeing that experience where you are. It's so interesting how each of our tick populations behave so differently.
Yeah, I think they're really nasty and vicious. They would be quite big in here, will be one tick usually. And the side of infection, the side of bite itself will be red, angry, or will be like 100-degree hot. It will be oozing with the white clear liquid. Probably later will be oozing with pus. For some people, that whole spot won't be healing for weeks and weeks.
Yes, I can see that for years even, that people will not recover from that bite site. And then as treatment is initiated, it can reactivate that original wound, will come back, and people, even though it's been healed for a period of time.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. And that's where all different treatment methods come in. So, for example, that andrography solution that Stephen Bernard recommends, I find it's working for the cases where you have this infection on the spot, that's oozing wound, and with the pus coming, it's the bentonite and andrographies that draws the toxin in. But I don't think it will prevent infection from spreading, because if you think about that, blood circulates with such a speed in the body. Whatever comes to the system, it's everywhere within a few minutes. So I think andrographies will work only locally.
Yes, I agree. And I always follow it up with a tick bite herbal that targets the major infections we have in Australian ticks, just to keep the immune response up, a little bit of anti-inflammatory, so some Japanese knotweed, and immune modulation effects of some of the other herbs, but really boost the immune system after tick bite, because there is no way that anything that punctures your skin stays just where it was.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, another thing with andrographies, as Stephen Bernard recommends, placing a plaster with the whole mixture on the spot. That doesn't really work for people who have anaphylaxis, because everything is so red, so itchy, so hot, that to have a plaster on top of that, it just doesn't work.
Interesting.
Yeah,
fantastic information. Thank you for coming today and sharing that with us. Been really compelling and great for me to just get more understanding of what you're seeing, because you're in the coalface of this infection in Australia, is my clinical experience by watching how my patients are and where they live and what their experiences are.
Yeah, we learn so much through watching, and you know, trust me, I wanted to run away from this hot spot because
move anywhere else. Yeah.
So many times, and I feel like every tick, it's just worse and worse and worse reaction, and that's what people experience. The first tick, or actually people remember, what people often share here is they remember having tick bites and no problem whatsoever, and now any single tick bite for them, it's reaction, big allergy reaction. They feel spaced out, they feel dizzy, they feel the glands come up. And it is the allergy reaction. But as I said, I think it has a very strong correlation with infection later on.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. And definitely a place where we need more research in Australia. This is stuff we need to understand and acknowledge and train doctors in treating and diagnosing. And I always say doctors, even though I'm a naturopath, because I understand that first level care for most people is your local GP. And also when we're thinking about government-led policy, government oversees doctors, government doesn't oversee naturopaths. So we fall in a different part of that initial response basket than your local GP does. And so I think that's the place where the initial education needs to be really focused, and exploration of initial treatments that help protect people's life for 20 years so they're not really affected by that tick bite forever.
So agree.
Well, thank you very, very much for coming and joining us today. I think this has been an extremely useful chat, and I hope people get a lot out of it. I'd be really interested to hear in another chat, if you come back, about some of your other treatment methods and things that you're finding effective to support our